So in the recent cinematics and lore, Riot have been teasing a potential Void event, or a focus on the Void. Now obviously this isn't going to be like Ruination, where they've explicitly told us that it is coming and built it up over the course of many years through new characters, cinematics and lore. I also hope it's not going to be like Ruination, but it's a total anti-climax and ruins the development of multiple established characters while introducing new ones that are either disappointing or break the game, but I digress. While the Void event may not give us a new game mode or a new cinematic, I've got a few hopes and ideas for stuff I personally would love to see in the Void event. Let's get into this. Real quick, please consider subscribing. This guy called Neo-Cynical with multiple investments in the New Zealand slave trade overtook me in subscribers recently, and I'm not handling it healthily. Please subscribe to me instead of him. With that out of the way, let's begin. So the first thing I would love to see in a Void event is more development for Kaisa. Now Kaisa as a character is a really interesting concept, showing someone who has given themselves to the way of the Void in order to survive. This reflects in both her actions, in how she often uses drastic or violent methods to ultimately do the right thing, at the cost of being seen as a villain by those she saves, and in how she is forced into a cycle of perpetually hunting Void creatures to avoid being consumed by the Void. We've had some honestly pretty good pieces of lore exploring these, and I think it's a shame that Kaisa is widely hated amongst the League community, as her in-canon lore is pretty great. That being said, I can definitely see why people hate her. Her design is one of the worst in the whole game, and if you aren't familiar, let me explain why. The Void is League's equivalent to Hell, an underground manifestation of all the evil and hunger within the universe, where monstrous creatures, and Cogmore, roam. Now Kaisa herself was taken by the Void when she was barely 9 years old, and adapted to survive there by becoming the host of a parasite that grants her Void powers while also draining her life force unless she feeds it by hunting monsters or people. Living this life cycle of constantly hunting Void monsters and being fed upon by a parasite would surely have an effect on someone. Well no, because Kaisa has supermodel curves and a gorgeous face that serves no other purpose other than sex appeal in what should be one of the least conventionally attractive champs. The way I would fix this in the event is to add a bit more depth to why Kaisa looks the way she does. Perhaps the suit keeps her in perfect physical form the more she feeds it. My favourite idea is have her body under the skin be totally drained or turned into purple void-like skin. Maybe from when she was 9 and didn't understand how the suit worked, allowing it to consume all but her face. I think this would work great in showing her diminishing humanity and that her pretty face is the only reminder of what she used to be. I also think this would work great with Kassadin, her father's integration, which I will touch on later on. My general point being, when Kassadin finds his daughter, will he even want to be with her when he sees that she's almost completely surrendered herself to the Void? Another thing that I would want to see from a potential Void event is for the new confirmed Void jungler to be a really cool monster champ. I know they've already hinted there will be some kind of Void Empress, and that's fine, having a face to associate with the Void that isn't fucking Kaisa is a welcome addition. But at the same time, I don't want this to be a repeat of Unbound Thresh. If this really is the queen, the empress of the Void, the physical amalgamation of all the malice, greed and hunger within, making them a sexy anime character would be so cheap. I wouldn't even mind if they had humanoid features, but goddammit, if the Void Empress had a visible six-pack and a boob window built into her design, I'm going to be very disappointed. I'm not a graphic designer, I'm terrible at drawing, and to be honest, I'm a subpar scriptwriter. But I know what the Western fans want since I am a Western fan. We love monster champs like Aurelion Sol, Cogmore, Warwick and Thresh. 9 times out of 10 a monster champ will be praised for its design and lore, despite in some cases being incredibly difficult to play. I've barely played Kindred at all since I started playing League, and yet I think they have the coolest aesthetic and design in the game. If the leaks and rumours are to be believed, and this is some sort of Void Queen or Void Empress, then she has the potential to be so amazingly cool, and be as beloved a villain as characters like Mordekaiser and Fiddlesticks. Thresh was probably in that category until last year when Riot made the entire Western fanbase collectively turn on him when he was unbound. Listen, please make the Void jungler look somewhat monstrous. You can give them the fucking Cafe Cutie skin. I know you guys want to, I don't care. But make them look scary, and for God's sake, be creative, guys. A quick one next up, but I really hope that Chogath is the mystery VGU, or all new thing that definitely isn't a VGU or ASU that Riot are working on. If we're having an event focused on the Void, this would be the perfect time to launch the VGU alongside Kassadin's potential visual updates and the new Void jungler. Chogath right now, despite being in a semi-decent place gameplay-wise, is one of the most outdated designs in the game. There's a case to be made that he's a complete rip-off of Violator from Spawn, and like, they have a good point. For a Chogath VGU/new thing, I'd like to see minimal changes to his kit, but a complete design overhaul and much more lore. Right now, he is one of the most sparse champions in terms of relations and connections to wider Runeterra, as well as his fellow Void monsters. Maybe when the Void Queen comes out, he can be a pet or enforcer or something. I'm just throwing out ideas here, but Chogath is surprisingly fun to play, and it only seems fair that one of the most forgotten and overlooked champs when it comes to the Void deserves some love in the event. If the Riot Gods and all their wisdom disagree, then fuck 'em, I've got enough copium to make it through the next 5 years. Give us the damn Chogath rework, I beg! Now next up, I want a comic or a story, or maybe even a cinematic, you know, for I have the time, with Kassadin as the main character. Now the new splash art indicates that he may be getting some sort of Caitlyn-style ASU to update his look, which is well deserved. I think having something to accompany that would also help boost his popularity and pick rate, however, because God knows that's what Kassadin needs right now. I think my favourite idea for a Kassadin cinematic/story or comic would be him finally meeting Kaisa in the Void. Kassadin's basically League's answer to the Doomslayer at this point, a man full of vengeance and hate using the technology of our world to fight back against a hellish invasion. I think because of this, the two could have a really interesting dynamic, considering Kassadin has combined technology and weapons from our world, therefore holding on to his humanity, whereas Kaisa has given herself to the Void in order to fight it and barely holds on to her humanity. I think the two of them together could create a really interesting story that really helps their reputation amongst the League community, since Kassadin is very overlooked and Kaisa has equal number of people who hate her and are prepared to commit literal murder for her. Finally, I want the characters and lore included in the event to be consistent and respected by the writers. In Ruination, we not only saw the complete character assassination of Yorick, Misfortune, Pyke, Thresh and Lucian, but also a disappointing story and rushed ending to a plot built up for years. When it comes to Yorick and Misfortune especially, one has to wonder if the writers even read the characters' backstories. Yorick's lore depicts him building up a massive army of undead in his lifelong quest to kill Viego, and refusing to give a doomed man any of the waters of life as he knows it would kill him and ruin any hope of him saving the Shadow World. So, we know that Yorick has been dead set in his goal of killing Viego and amassing an army to do it, as well as protecting the Tears of Life and not giving them out to any random strangers he meets. I'm going to give you 3 guesses what he does in the Sentinels of Light event. And Misfortune, God, just the fact that she even considered becoming Ruin just baffles me, based on her previous character work. I can see her getting so desperate for power that she considers it, but her greatest fear is becoming like Gangplank, who also was a pawn to Viego in the Ruined King game. Surely that information alone would stop her from willingly offering herself up. God, the Sentinels of Light event was such a mess. Add on Pyke acting completely out of character and the horror story that is Unbound Thresh, and a complete lack of understanding or respect for the established characters or lore is shown here. I don't care if the Void event is just a few skins, I don't mind if we don't get a comic or a cinematic or even a Void themed rework, but for God's sake, I hope the Void and its inhabitants don't suffer the same fate as those from Bilgewater and the Shadow Isles. The Void has been severely overlooked in terms of champions, lore, reworks and general attention, and while a potential event won't be all on the scale of Ruination, a poor start to these characters' first major link to wider Runeterra would be devastating. I won't deny that the Void has a definite presence right now, with many characters sensing or dreading its arrival, but it's mostly Shurima and Freljord where this goes on. Giving the Void just a bit of attention would be hugely beneficial towards the lore of League as a whole. This last point has been pretty rambling, but I guess it comes down to, if Riot's going to do it, I beg they don't fuck it up. Thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new, and consider checking out some of the other videos. The League videos are going to continue for now, because, you know, still not feeling GTA right now. Probably going to keep them going for indefinitely. This video took much longer than normal to edit, so I've got a bit of a cold since I last did the audio. But anyway, please subscribe to me, Not Near Cynical, and I'll see you in the next one.